The morning air on Training Base Sentinel 7 carried the sharp scent of pine and damp earth. Sarah Blake walked the forest perimeter with steady steps, her boots crunching softly on the trail. Steam rose from the thermos in her left hand as she took another sip of coffee. The bitter warmth spread through her chest, chasing away the last remnants of early morning cold. Beside her, Titan moved like a shadow. The massive German shepherd kept pace with Sarah perfectly, his dark fur rippling over lean muscle. His ears swiveled constantly, catching sounds Sarah's human hearing missed. Every few steps, his amber eyes flicked up to check her face, waiting for commands that might come through gesture or word. Sarah loved these morning patrols. Most cadets complained about the early hour, but she found peace in the quiet routine. Just her, Titan, and the wilderness zone that surrounded the base. The forest was real earth flora, transported and cultivated to help human soldiers remember home. Command said it helped with morale. Sarah thought it helped with sanity. She raised the thermos to her lips again, savoring the coffee. Her mother had sent it from Earth, a dark roast blend that actually tasted like coffee instead of the recycled protein slurry the base tried to pass off as the real thing. Sarah made it last, rationing it carefully. Titan stopped. His body went rigid, head lowering slightly. A soft growl rumbled in his chest. Sarah halted mid-step. She did not reach for her sidearm. Did not call out. She simply stood still and took another sip of coffee, using the moment to scan the tree line with peripheral vision. Titan's instincts were never wrong. The attack came from 3 directions at once. Large shapes burst from the undergrowth, moving fast. Sarah's training identified them immediately. Vrax. 6 of them, maybe 7. Their reptilian bodies were built low to the ground, all coiled muscle and serrated claws. Bony ridges covered their heads and spines. Each one stood nearly 2 meters tall when upright. The Vrax were famous throughout the galaxy. Apex hunters from a death world even harsher than Earth. They prided themselves on tracking and killing dangerous prey. Their culture celebrated the hunt above all else. Sarah stood perfectly still. Titan positioned himself between her and the closest Vrax, but he did not attack. He waited, tense as a loaded spring for Sarah's command. The largest Vrax stepped forward. Ceremonial scars covered his arms and chest, each one representing a successful hunt. His translator device crackled to life. "Human cadet," he said, his actual voice a series of hisses and clicks beneath the mechanical translation. "You walk alone in dangerous territory." Sarah took another sip of coffee. "This is a training base. The only dangerous thing here is the food in the mess hall." Several Vrax made a sound like stones grinding together. Laughter, Sarah realized. They found her funny. The scarred leader tilted his head, studying her with yellow eyes. "You are small. Weak. Soft-skinned." His gaze shifted to Titan. "And you bring a pet? How does your species survive?" "We manage," Sarah said. Her voice stayed calm, almost bored. Inside, her heart rate had already adjusted for combat. Her breathing remained steady. Years of training kept her body relaxed even as her mind calculated angles and distances. Another Vrax, younger and more eager, stepped closer. "The human shows no fear. Perhaps she is stupid. Perhaps she knows something you don't," Sarah said. She set her thermos on a flat rock beside the trail, being careful not to spill any precious coffee. "This is a military installation. You're not supposed to be in this sector." The leader's translator buzzed. "We go where we please. The Vrax Collective has agreements with your Galactic Council. We are allowed to train here, same as you. Training doesn't usually involve ambush tactics against other cadets," Sarah pointed out. "We hunt," the leader said simply. "It is what we do. What we have always done." You appeared. Alone. Vulnerable. What hunter could resist such opportunity? Sarah felt Titan's muscles bunch beneath his fur. The dog understood threat assessment as well as she did. 7 Vrax hunters against 1 human and her partner. Poor odds for most species. But Sarah was not most species. "So this is a hunt?" she asked. "I'm your prey?" "You were," the scarred leader said. "Now you are simply entertainment before the real training begins. Tell me, human, do you know how Vrax younglings learn to hunt?" "I don't really care," Sarah said. The leader ignored her. "We start with small prey. Weak creatures. We learn their fear, their desperation. Then we move to larger targets. More dangerous game." He took a step forward. Titan's growl deepened. "You understand? We are predators. It is in our nature. In our very bones." Sarah nodded slowly. "Right. Nature. Instinct. The whole apex predator thing. You mock what you do not understand." "No," Sarah said. I understand perfectly. You're hunters. Top of your food chain. Biggest, baddest thing on your world. She glanced down at Titan, who stared at the Vrax with unwavering focus. We had things like that on Earth too. The younger Vrax laughed again. Had? Past tense? What happened to them, little human? Sarah smiled. It was not a friendly expression. We domesticated them. Turned them into partners. Brought them with us to the stars. She gestured to Titan. Meet humanity's oldest ally. The Vrax looked at the dog with unconcealed contempt. That is your defender? A tamed beast that eats from your hand. Something like that, Sarah agreed. The scarred leader had heard enough. This wastes time. Kill the pet first. Let the human watch. Then we decide if she is worth taking back to our training grounds, or if we leave her for the scavengers. The young Vrax who had spoken earlier lunged forward, claws extended. He moved with terrible speed, covering the distance to Titan in less than a second. Sarah took a sip of her coffee. Her hand never moved toward her weapon. Her posture never shifted. She simply stood there, thermos to lips, and watched. Titan moved. The German shepherd exploded into motion with a snarl that turned the forest air sharp with menace. He did not meet the Vrax head-on. Instead, he twisted aside at the last instant, letting the alien's momentum carry him past. Titan's jaws closed on the Vrax's extended forearm with crushing force. The alien screamed. The sound was not words, just pure shock and pain. Titan held on, shaking his head violently, applying 80 kilograms of muscle and a bite force that could crack bone. The other Vrax froze, stunned by the sudden reversal. Sarah lowered her thermos. You were saying something about pets? The young Vrax thrashed wildly, trying to break free from Titan's grip. The dog held firm, teeth locked deep into scaled flesh. Sarah raised her right hand, fingers forming a specific shape. Titan saw it instantly and released, backing away 3 precise steps to Sarah's left side. The wounded Vrax stumbled backward, clutching his mangled arm. Green blood dripped between his claws. He stared at Titan with wide yellow eyes, no longer seeing a harmless pet. Impossible, the scarred leader hissed. No domesticated creature fights like that. Sarah made another hand signal. Titan sat, perfectly still, eyes locked on the Vrax pack. His lips curled back from blood-stained teeth. A low growl vibrated in his chest. You don't know much about humans, do you? Sarah asked. She kept her voice conversational, like they were discussing the weather. We've been working with predators for thousands of years. Long before we reached the stars. 2 more Vrax circled to her right, trying to flank her position. Sarah did not turn her head to track them. She watched their reflections in Titan's eyes, saw exactly where they moved. The scarred leader gestured sharply. Take them both. Carefully this time. The 2 flanking Vrax charged together, coordinating their attack. They moved low and fast, using pack tactics that had worked on 100 different worlds against 1,000 different prey species. Sarah's left hand moved in a quick cutting motion. Titan surged forward to meet the first Vrax head-on. At the last second, Sarah's fingers twisted into a new shape. Titan dropped and rolled, sliding under the alien's reaching claws. The Vrax stumbled over him off balance. The second attacker had no time to adjust. Sarah finally moved, stepping inside his reach as he lunged. She drove her elbow into the joint where his neck met his shoulder, a weak point on most reptilian species. The Vrax made a choking sound and dropped. Behind her, Titan had already recovered. The dog launched himself at the first Vrax's back, driving the alien face first into the dirt. Titan's jaws found the back of the creature's neck, applying just enough pressure to immobilize without killing. Sarah thought back to her first year at the academy. She had been nervous, unsure if she belonged among the elite cadets selected for deep space military service. The bonding ceremony had terrified her. They brought out the dogs in a large hall. Dozens of them, all breeds, all trained from birth for military work. The instructors explained that humans were unique in the galaxy. Every other species either fought alone or used simple group tactics. None of them had spent millennia forming partnerships with other predator species. Humans are pack animals, the chief instructor had said. We evolved alongside wolves. We hunted together, protected each other, became family. When humans went to war, we brought our oldest friends with us. No alien species understands this. They see pets, servants, tools. They don't see what we see. Sarah had walked among the waiting dogs, feeling overwhelmed. How was she supposed to choose? Then she saw Titan, barely a year old, watching her with intelligent amber eyes. He did not jump or bark or demand attention like the others. He simply sat and waited, patient and focused. Their eyes met. Something clicked into place. Sarah knew with absolute certainty that this was her partner. The training had been brutal. Hundreds of hours learning to communicate without words, building trust, understanding each other's strengths and weaknesses. Sarah learned Titan's every signal, every subtle shift in body language. Titan learned to read Sarah's intentions from the smallest gesture. They became a single unit. Two minds working as one. A sharp hiss brought Sarah back to the present. The scarred Vrax leader watched his hunter struggle with new understanding in his eyes. You fight together. Truly together. Not master and servant. Not commander and tool. Now you're getting it, Sarah said. She raised her thermos and took another sip of coffee. Still warm. Good. 3 Vrax remained standing, including the leader. The young one Titan had bitten first crouched low, nursing his wounded arm. The 2 Sarah and Titan had just dropped were climbing slowly to their feet, both looking significantly less confident. This changes nothing, the leader said, but his voice carried less certainty. We still have numbers. We still have strength. You have pride, Sarah corrected. And that's going to get you hurt. The leader snarled and charged. The 2 recovering Vrax followed his lead, attacking from different angles. It was a good tactical move, forcing Sarah to divide her attention. Sarah's hands moved through 3 quick signals. Titan broke right, intercepting one attacker. Sarah dropped her thermos, finally freeing both hands, and met the second Vrax with a sweep kick that took his legs out. The alien hit the ground hard. The scarred leader reached Sarah, claws extended for a killing strike. She rolled under his attack, came up behind him, and delivered a precise strike to his lower spine. The Vrax leader collapsed, temporarily paralyzed. Titan had driven his opponent into a tree. The Vrax slumped against the trunk, dazed and bleeding from multiple bite wounds. The dog returned to Sarah's side, panting slightly but otherwise unhurt. Sarah picked up her thermos, checking for damage. A small dent on one side, but the seal held. She took a long drink, emptying the last of her coffee. Shame to waste it, but the fight had taken longer than expected. The Vrax leader tried to rise and failed. His legs would not respond. He stared up at Sarah with something approaching respect mixed with his anger. How? He demanded. Your species is weak. Slow. Your claws are useless. Your teeth barely sharp. How do you fight like this? Sarah knelt beside him, being careful to stay out of reach. Titan positioned himself to guard her back. You hunt alone or in packs, but each hunter fights for himself. You rely on individual strength, personal skill. We learn something different. She gestured to Titan. 30,000 years ago, humans were just another prey species trying to survive. We were weak, like you said. Not the strongest or fastest or most dangerous. But we were smart enough to recognize potential allies when we saw them. The young Vrax with the wounded arm listened, fascinated despite his pain. We partnered with wolves, Sarah continued. Shared our food, our fire, our lives. Over thousands of generations we shaped each other. They became dogs, loyal and intelligent and adaptable. We became the only species that could turn apex predators into family. Into weapons when needed, companions when wanted. She stood, looking down at the scattered Vrax hunters. Every human soldier has a partner. Sometimes a dog, sometimes other animals. We don't fight alone. We never have. That's not weakness. That's our greatest strength. Sarah checked her communicator. Still 15 minutes before she needed to report back. Plenty of time. You should leave, she said quietly. Take your wounded and go. This was a mistake. Learn from it. The scarred leader managed to regain some feeling in his legs. He rose slowly, pride warring with pragmatism in his eyes. This is not finished, human. Sarah smiled without humor. Yeah, it is. You just don't know it yet. The scarred Vrax leader touched a device on his wrist. The translator did not pick up his words, but Sarah recognized a communication signal when she saw one. He was calling for backup. Really? Sarah said. She set her empty thermos carefully on the ground. You want to make this worse? You have embarrassed us, the leader hissed. Wounded our pride. Made us look weak in front of a soft-skinned human. His yellow eyes burned with anger. The Vrax do not accept defeat from lesser species. Sarah sighed. We're all cadets here. This isn't defeat. It's a learning experience. For you perhaps. The leader's translator crackled with malice. When my hunting pack arrives, you will learn what real predators can do. Titan's ears flicked back. Sarah felt rather than saw his tension increase. More threats incoming. The dog's senses picked up movement long before human ears could detect it. Sarah tapped her own communicator, keeping the motion casual. 3 quick presses. A coded signal. Distress call but not emergency level. It meant she needed support but was not in immediate danger of death. Command would send help but not scramble the whole base. You signal your masters? The Vrax leader asked. Call for rescue? Just letting people know where I am, Sarah said. Standard procedure during patrols. The forest around them rustled. Sarah counted footsteps. Heavy bodies moving through undergrowth. At least 6 more Vrax, probably 8. They were trying to be stealthy, but Titan's ears tracked each one perfectly. Sarah switched to English. Titan heel position. Defensive circle. Mark targets on my signal. The dog moved immediately, positioning himself with his back to Sarah's legs. His head swiveled, amber eyes cataloging each approaching threat. English gave them an advantage. Most alien translators focused on galactic common or major trade languages. Regional Earth languages were rarely programmed into standard devices. The Vrax leader's head tilted. What language is that? One you don't speak, Sarah replied in common. She switched back to English. Titan 8 hostiles. Pattern Delta. Engage on release command only. Titan's muscles coiled. He understood Pattern Delta. It meant maximum efficiency, minimum wasted energy. Take down threats quickly and move to the next target. No showboating. No unnecessary risk. 8 new Vrax emerged from the trees. They were larger than the first group, more scarred, more experienced. Elite hunters, Sarah realized. The leader had not called for ordinary backup. He had summoned the best his group had. 12 against 1, the leader said with satisfaction. Do your odds seem good now, human? Sarah did the math. 12 Vrax, each one a trained predator from a death world. Each one probably had dozens of successful hunts. Against her and Titan. Better than yours, she said calmly. The leader made a gesture. The Vrax spread out, forming a wide circle. They moved with coordinated precision, each hunter taking a specific position. This was practiced. Rehearsed. They had used this formation before. Sarah recognized the tactic. Encirclement, then simultaneous attack from all directions. It worked on prey animals that panicked and ran. It worked on lone predators that tried to fight their way out. It would not work on her. Titan Pattern Delta is active. Wait for my mark. She switched to common. Last chance to walk away. The scarred leader laughed, a sound like grinding rocks. You stand in a circle of death and offer us mercy? The arrogance of humans never ceases to amaze me. It's not arrogance, Sarah said. It's experience. The leader's expression shifted to contempt. You are barely 20 cycles old. What experience could you possibly have? Enough to know that you're using hunting algorithms, Sarah said. She had studied alien combat tactics in academy classes. The Vrax were predictable because they followed patterns proven over millions of years of evolution. Encircle, intimidate, attack as a group, overwhelm through numbers. Humans had learned to fight differently. Not through instinct but through adaptation. Through partnership. Attack, the leader commanded. 12 Vrax charged inward simultaneously. The circle collapsed like a closing fist. Sarah's hands moved in rapid signals. Titan mark left quadrant. Release. Titan exploded forward, targeting the 3 Vrax on Sarah's left. He did not try to fight them all at once. Instead, he went low, sliding between the legs of the first hunter and hamstringing him with a precise bite. The Vrax screamed and fell. Sarah moved right, using a martial arts technique her instructor had drilled into her. She dropped under a slashing claw, drove her fist into a nerve cluster on the second Vrax's leg, and rolled past as the alien collapsed. Titan center. 2 o'clock. The dog was already moving, reading Sarah's intention before she finished speaking. He crashed into a charging Vrax, using his body weight to knock the hunter off balance. Titan's jaws found a shoulder joint and clamped down. The remaining Vrax hesitated, confused. Their encirclement had failed. Their algorithm said the prey should be trapped, panicking, easy to finish. Instead, the human and her animal moved like water, flowing around attacks, striking from unexpected angles. Sarah switched to English again. Titan rotating defense. Clock pattern. 15-second intervals. To the Vrax it sounded like meaningless noise. To Titan it was crystal clear. He began moving in a wide circle around Sarah, intercepting any Vrax that got too close. Every 15 seconds he switched direction, keeping the aliens off balance. 3 more hunters charged Sarah directly. She sidestepped the first, used his momentum to throw him into the second, and delivered a crushing kick to the third's knee joint. The joint bent backward with a wet crack. The Vrax howled and dropped. Titan brake left. Full aggression. 5 seconds. The dog launched himself at 2 Vrax trying to flank Sarah's position. 5 seconds of pure violence. Teeth and muscle and focused rage. Both aliens went down, bleeding and stunned. The scarred leader watched in disbelief. Half his hunting pack was down. The human had not even drawn her sidearm. The animal fought with a precision that no wild beast should possess. "How?" he demanded. "How do you predict our movements?" Sarah did not answer. She was too focused on the fight. Her training took over, muscle memory and hundreds of hours with Titan creating perfect synchronization. She pointed left. Titan went left. She whistled low. Titan dropped and rolled. She spoke a single English word. Titan understood and executed. The Vrax could not adapt. Their instincts, their algorithms, their entire evolutionary advantage meant nothing against opponents who fought with coordinated unpredictability. Another 3 Vrax fell to Titan's calculated attacks. Sarah took down 2 more with precise strikes to vulnerable points she had memorized from xenobiology classes. The scarred leader stood alone among his wounded hunters. 12 of the Vrax collective's best, reduced to groaning, bleeding casualties. And the human had barely broken a sweat. Sarah walked toward him calmly. Titan paced at her side, ready but controlled. "Still think we're lesser species?" The leader's pride crumbled into something resembling fear. You toyed with us. From the beginning." "No," Sarah said. "I gave you chances to leave. You chose to escalate." The Vrax leader looked at his fallen hunters, then back at Sarah. Understanding finally dawned in his yellow eyes. "You were never in danger. Were you?" Sarah shrugged. "That's what happens when you underestimate humans." The sound started as a distant echo through the trees. Rhythmic, purposeful, growing louder with each passing second. The scarred Vrax leader's head jerked up, his translator crackling as he tried to identify the noise. Sarah knew exactly what it was. The sound of paws hitting earth at full sprint. Multiple sets. Coming fast. Titan's ears perked forward. His tail gave a single wag before returning to alert position. He recognized those particular footfalls, knew the scent patterns even from a distance. The remaining standing Vrax hunters shifted nervously, trying to locate the source of the approaching sounds. They formed a defensive cluster around their wounded, predator instincts finally overriding hunting algorithms. 6 human cadets burst through the tree line from different directions. Each one had a dog running beside them. A Belgian Malinois, a Rottweiler, a Dutch Shepherd, a Doberman, 2 more German Shepherds. All of them moved with the same focused intensity as Titan. The cadets wore standard patrol uniforms, but each carried themselves differently. Different fighting styles. Different specializations. United by the same partnership Sarah shared with Titan. A tall woman with dark skin and close-cropped hair reached Sarah first. Her Belgian Malinois, lean and alert, took up position next to Titan. The 2 dogs touched noses briefly, a quick greeting between packmates. "You good, Blake?" the woman asked. Her name was Jenny Kwan, 3rd-year cadet, top marks in tactical response. "All good," Sarah confirmed. "Just having a conversation about proper protocol." Jenny looked at the scattered Vrax hunters, many still clutching wounds. Her eyebrows rose. Some conversation. The other cadets formed a loose perimeter around the area. Their dogs spread out automatically, creating overlapping fields of awareness. No coordination was needed. They had trained together countless times. Each human dog pair knew their role. A short man with red hair and freckles approached the scarred Vrax leader. His Rottweiler, massive and muscular, positioned himself between his partner and the alien. The man's name was Tom Price, and his easy smile contrasted sharply with his dog's intimidating presence. "Morning," Tom said cheerfully. "Seems like you folks had some trouble." The Vrax leader stared at the assembled humans and their animals. His translator made several false starts before finding words. All of you have these beasts?" "Partners," corrected a woman named Alice Hart. Her Dutch Shepherd sat calmly beside her, brown eyes tracking every Vrax movement. "Not beasts. Partners." Another cadet, Kevin Ross, knelt beside one of the wounded Vrax. His Doberman stood guard while Kevin examined the alien's injuries. "This one's hamstrung. Needs medical attention soon or he'll have permanent damage." The scarred leader's confusion deepened. "You help us. After we attacked your packmate?" "They're hunters," Sarah explained to her fellow cadets. "Thought I was easy prey. Learn different. Jenny laughed, a sharp bark of amusement. They jumped you solo? What did they think was gonna happen? Apparently they don't understand human pack dynamics, Sarah said. The forest rustled again. Heavier footsteps this time. Human but moving with authority. The cadets straightened slightly, their dogs' ears swiveling toward the sound. Captain Mitchell emerged from the trees. He was a broad-shouldered man in his 40s with gray starting to show in his dark hair. No dog accompanied him. He had retired his partner last year after the animal took shrapnel, saving Mitchell's life during a training accident. The captain had not bonded with a new partner yet. Everyone said he was waiting for the right match. Just like Sarah had waited for Titan. Mitchell surveyed the scene with experienced eyes. 12 wounded Vrax. 6 standing cadets and their dogs. Sarah and Titan at the center of it all. His expression remained neutral, but Sarah saw the calculation happening behind his eyes. "Sitrep Blake," he said crisply. Sarah snapped to attention. "Sir. I was on routine morning patrol when this Vrax hunting party ambushed my position. I defended myself. They called reinforcements. I called for backup. Situation is now contained." Mitchell walked slowly around the perimeter, examining each wounded Vrax. He stopped in front of the scarred leader. "You're from the Vrax Collective Training Group. Sector 7. "Yes," the leader admitted, struggling to maintain dignity while sitting in the dirt surrounded by his defeated hunters. "Your authorization allows training exercises in designated zones," Mitchell continued. "This is Sector 3. Human patrol route. You're not authorized here." The Vrax leader's jaw worked, but no words came. Mitchell turned to Sarah. "Did you identify yourself as a military cadet?" "Yes, sir. Multiple times. Gave them several chances to disengage." "Did you use lethal force?" "No, sir. All strikes were disabling only. Titan used controlled bites. No kills." Mitchell nodded. He looked back at the Vrax leader. "So let me understand this. You led a hunting party into unauthorized territory, ambushed a human cadet during her scheduled patrol, ignored multiple warnings, called in reinforcements when your first attack failed, and then got your entire squad disabled by one cadet and her partner." The silence stretched painfully. Finally, the scarred leader spoke. "We did not know humans fought this way. Our intelligence said they were weak. Individual fighters. Easy targets." "Your intelligence was wrong," Mitchell said flatly. "Humans don't fight as individuals. We fight as teams. As packs. We've been doing it for 30,000 years. You're not the first species to learn this lesson the hard way." Alice's Dutch shepherd whined softly. She rested a hand on his head, calming him. The dog sensed tension and wanted to act, but trusted his partner's judgment. Mitchell activated his communicator. "Command, this is Captain Mitchell. I need medical transport to my location. Multiple casualties. Non-lethal injuries. Also need a diplomatic liaison from Galactic Council oversight. We have an incident." Sarah stepped forward. "Sir, request permission to speak." "Go ahead, Blake. These hunters need treatment soon. Some of these injuries could become serious without proper care." She gestured to the Vrax with the backwards bent knee. "That one especially. And the hamstrung hunter Kevin identified." Mitchell studied her face. "You're requesting medical aid for hostiles who attacked you?" "They made a mistake, sir. A bad one. But I don't want them permanently crippled because of ignorance." The scarred Vrax leader stared at Sarah with an expression she could not quite read. Confusion mixed with something that might have been respect. Jenny leaned close to Sarah and whispered, "You're too nice, Blake. They tried to kill you." "They tried to hunt me," Sarah corrected quietly. "Different thing. They didn't understand what they were dealing with. Now they do." Tom's Rottweiler padded over to sniff one of the wounded Vrax. The alien flinched away, but the dog simply investigated with calm curiosity before returning to Tom's side. Mitchell's communicator beeped. "Transport is 8 minutes out. Medical team prepped for xenobiology cases." He looked at the assembled cadets. "Maintain perimeter until transport arrives. Nobody moves without authorization." The 6 cadets and their dogs settled into guard positions. Professional. Controlled. Ready for any threat but hoping for none. The scarred Vrax leader watched them, understanding finally settling into his eyes. These were not weak prey animals. These were coordinated warriors who chose mercy when they could have chosen violence. "Human," he said to Sarah. "Your name?" "I would know it." "Cadet Sarah Blake," she replied. "I am Hunt Leader Cracksnore. I will remember this day. And I will remember your strength." Sarah nodded. Remember the lesson too. Humans don't hunt alone. The medical bay hummed with activity. Vrax hunters occupied 6 beds, each one restrained at the wrists and ankles. Not because they posed a threat anymore but because protocol demanded it. Hostile forces received treatment, but also supervision. Sarah sat on a bench outside the bay, Titan resting at her feet. The dog's head lay on his paws, but his eyes remained alert, tracking every person who walked past. 3 hours had passed since the incident. Her patrol shift had ended. She should have been in her bunk, sleeping. Instead she waited. Captain Mitchell had told her the Galactic Council was sending representatives. They wanted statements. Wanted to understand what happened. Sarah had already filed her official report, but bureaucracy demanded face-to-face interviews. The door to the medical bay slid open. A tall figure emerged, humanoid but not human. Gray skin for arms, large black eyes that seemed to see everything. Aquilians Sarah recognized. They served as mediators and judges throughout the Galactic Council, prized for their impartiality. Cadet Blake? The Aquilian's voice was melodic, pleasant. Yes, sir. I am Arbitrator Velquin. I have reviewed your report and the security footage. I have also spoken with Hunt Leader Crack Snore. The Quillian gestured to an empty interview room. May we speak? Sarah stood, Titan rising smoothly with her. Of course. They entered the small room. Velquin settled into a chair designed for his unique physiology. Sarah sat across from him, Titan taking position beside her chair. The arbitrator's 4 hands moved in complex patterns as he spoke. Sarah had learned this was how Quillians expressed nuance that their voices could not capture. The Vrax collective faces serious consequences. Unauthorized territorial violation. Unprovoked attack on allied military personnel. Escalation after initial engagement. One hand paused. But I am told you requested medical treatment for your attackers. Yes, sir. Why? Sarah considered her answer carefully. They made a mistake based on bad information. Punishment should fit the crime. Permanent injury didn't seem appropriate. Velquin's head tilted, a very human gesture of curiosity. The Vrax culture celebrates strength above all else. Showing mercy might be interpreted as weakness. I know, Sarah said. But I'm not Vrax. I'm human. We have different values. Indeed. The arbitrator's large eyes focused on Titan. Tell me about your companion. The Vrax claim he fought with military precision. That he responded to commands they could not understand. That he seemed to read your intentions without verbal communication. Sarah smiled slightly, reaching down to scratch behind Titan's ears. The dog's tail thumped once against the floor. Titan and I have been partners for 3 years. We train together every day. Learn each other's patterns. Build trust. But he is an animal. A predator species from your homeworld, yes. He's both, Sarah agreed. He's a German shepherd. His ancestors were wolves. Apex predators. Dangerous hunters. Her hand continued scratching, Titan's eyes half closing in contentment. But he's also my best friend. My family. My brother in arms. Velquin's 4 hands made a gesture Sarah did not recognize. Other species use animals. The Kryn employ pack beasts for labor. The Solarans use flying creatures for reconnaissance. But none have achieved what humans have with their canines. This integration. This partnership. It took 30,000 years, Sarah said. Humans and wolves started cooperating before we even had written language. We hunted together. Protected each other. Shared resources. Over generations the wolves changed. Became dogs. Adapted to work with us. We changed too. Developed parts of our brains specifically for understanding and bonding with them. Evolutionary co-development, Velquin mused. Fascinating. Most species see it as a weakness, Sarah pointed out. The Vrax certainly did. They thought Titan was a pet. A tool. Something I controlled. But you do control him. He follows your commands. Sarah shook her head. He chooses to work with me. There's a difference. If I gave Titan a command that endangered me unnecessarily, he'd ignore it. If I was hurt and couldn't give commands, he'd make his own decisions to protect me. He's not a robot or a slave. He's a partner with his own judgment. Titan's ears perked up at the sound of his name. He looked at Sarah, then back to Velquin, assessing whether the arbitrator posed any threat. Deciding he did not, Titan relaxed again. The Vrax are demanding consequences for their humiliation, Velquin said. Their cultural honor requires it. What kind of consequences? They want you disciplined for excessive force. They claim you used a dangerous animal as a weapon without proper warning. Sarah felt anger flash through her chest, but kept her voice level. They ambushed me. Called in reinforcements when I defended myself. I gave multiple warnings. Everything is on the security footage. I know, Velquin said calmly. Their demands will be denied. But I wanted you to understand the political situation. The Vrax Collective is a powerful faction. They will not forget this incident. Good, Sarah said. Maybe they'll think twice before attacking lone cadets. One of Velquin's hands made a gesture that might have been approval. The Galactic Council is also discussing broader policy. Your species is unique in bringing domesticated predators into military service. Some factions argue this gives humans an unfair advantage. They want restrictions. Sarah's jaw tightened. They want us to leave our partners behind? Some do, yes. That won't happen, Sarah said firmly. Humans and dogs are a package deal. We don't abandon family. Velquin studied her for a long moment. That word, family. You use it to describe an animal from a different species. Yes. This is difficult for most species to understand. They see hierarchy. Master and servant. User and tool. But you see equality? Not equality exactly, Sarah said, thinking through her words. Titan and I have different strengths. Different roles. But we're equals in worth. In value. I don't own him. We belong to each other. The arbitrator's four hands moved in a complex sequence. When he spoke again, his voice carried a weight it had not before. I will include this in my report. The Council needs to understand that human-canine partnerships are not tactical advantages to be regulated. They are cultural foundations. Separating humans from their bonded animals would be like asking Quillians to remove two of our arms. Possible, perhaps. But it would make us less than what we are. Sarah felt relief wash through her. Thank you, sir. Velquin stood, all four hands gesturing in what Sarah recognized as a formal farewell. The Vrax hunters will be relocated to a different training facility. You will not encounter them again during your service here. Hunt leader Crax nor requested I deliver a message to you. What message? He says you fight with honor. That he misjudged your species. And that if you ever visit Vrax Prime, you would be welcomed as a warrior, not prey. Sarah almost laughed. That's probably the closest thing to an apology a Vrax can give. Indeed. Velquin moved toward the door then paused. One more thing, Cadet Blake. You showed remarkable restraint during that engagement. Lesser soldiers might have escalated to lethal force. Killing should be the last option, not the first, Sarah said simply. The arbitrator's large eyes seemed to soften. Your species may be more ready for the stars than the Council realizes. After Velquin left, Sarah remained sitting for a moment. Titan looked up at her, sensing her emotional state shifting toward relaxation. Come on, buddy, she said, standing. Let's get some rest. They walked through the base corridors together. Other cadets and officers moved past them. Sarah noticed the subtle changes. The wider berth people gave her. The respectful nods. The curious glances at Titan. Word had spread fast. One human cadet and her dog had disabled 12 elite Vrax hunters without lethal force. The story would become legend in the academy. Sarah suspected it was already being exaggerated in the mess hall. 2 days later, Sarah returned to her morning patrol routine. Same route. Same time. New thermos of coffee, sent by her mother in the latest care package. She walked the forest path with Titan at her side, enjoying the quiet. The pine scent. The soft crunch of boots on the trail. Steam rising from her coffee in the cool morning air. They passed 3 groups of alien cadets during the patrol. Each group gave Sarah and Titan plenty of space. Some nodded respectfully. Others simply watched with wary eyes. No one challenged her. No one mocked her partnership with Titan. No one questioned whether a human belonged in the elite training program. Sarah smiled and took another sip of coffee. Titan's tail wagged gently. Lessons, she reflected, came in many forms. Sometimes they were taught in classrooms. Sometimes they were learned the hard way in a forest clearing, against opponents who thought strength meant fighting alone. Humans had learned 30,000 years ago that strength came from partnership. From trust. From family bonds that transcended species. The rest of the galaxy was still catching up.